Hello, ActiveSage here on the Sage channel, and a rather fantastic update came out today that, well, let's be honest, some of the updates recently you might not have been too impressed with. I saw a lot of people complaining about the Blueprint update lately. You gotta realize some stuff takes time to get it up to the point where it's really something amazing to see. Well, this week they gave us something that I think really makes up for it. Now, they did give us the ability to control turrets directly, which is pretty cool, but they also gave us something else that I'm going to go first, which I think is fairly amazing. So here we are in a completely void and empty world. I didn't fly away from the asteroids, there's nothing here. But we're going to do a Shift F10 and bring up this little spawn in menu. Again, that was Shift F10 and brings up the spawning menu. This is the same way you give yourself uranium or anything else, you know, in creative mode if you need to give yourself random items. Well, they've added this here. A big pull down with a bunch of different asteroids. So you can now actually make asteroids. So you can make your own custom world without using SE Toolbox, or SE Toolbox, or however you say it. You can now just go ahead and build your own stuff straight in game. So, brand new world, let's say we want to set up a little tiny base. Let's go ahead and do, I don't know, Rift Station smaller. No, let's do this Russian transmitter asteroid, whatever that is. Now you got your core material and your surface material. And you can go ahead and say, hey, on the surface, let's have a bunch of nickel. And on the inside, let's have, I don't know, a bunch of gold because it sticks out pretty well. And you can see it gives you a little warning here, generating asteroids can take a long time. And you also have this add random material, so it should add some random stuff inside as well. So let's do spawn. And my game actually looks like it's frozen right now. And then jump, and there it is. And they actually move around just like you're copying and pasting any item into the world. And let's go ahead and paste this in right here. So I've clicked, and instantly you can see because I was moving my mouse, the second I click, it just stops. Because of course it's a voxel-based thing, it cannot be flung around. It's a static object. And you can see that the outside here is, what did we set it as? If we do Shift F10, you can see I set the outside to be nickel. So if we get our drill out, we will see that the whole outside should be pretty much made of nickel. It's actually just showing gold there, but it should be made of nickel. Let's go ahead and mine a bit here. And sure enough, yep, I am indeed. If we press I, you can see I've picked up a bunch of nickel, and you can see that the interior is made of gold. So if I was actually to go ahead and right-click and just start blasting through this, I'll blast away the outside really quickly, and you'll begin seeing the inside, which will be made of gold. So let's get in there, and it should be gold. The outside layer seems like it's a bit thick here today. Yeah, it seems like the outside layer was fairly thick in places. This might not have been the best asteroid to demonstrate it, but it works pretty well. Now, you're of course also seeing these uranium and magnesium and other things like that. That's because, of course, it's going ahead and tossing those in there as well, because I had that little thing checked to add extra materials. A little thing I'm checking and unchecking right now on the right side of the screen there. Let's go ahead and leave that unchecked. Let's choose another asteroid. So let's choose deformed sphere. So it's a pretty good size sphere with corridors. Now let's just do this one here and say spawn. And there we go. We got this one. We'll plop that in there nice and quick. And if we begin mining into this one, this should be a better demonstration of the fact that once you get inside, it actually is a different material. And there you go. So you can see it's just a big lump of gold on the inside. It's pretty cool. And this one isn't going to have any other things but the nickel and gold in. And you can see there, we've now again hit nickel again, which means we're about to come out the other side of the asteroid. Yep, there we go. So that's pretty cool. You can see it's a very, very thick outer layer. Maybe in the future we'll have a way to tweak, like sliders underneath these to tweak how thick these layers are. But for now, it's pretty good. And of course, if you want to have pretty bog standard asteroids, you can go ahead and select a few random stones. Select add random material. Add random materials, let's go with like this, where is it? Chinese corridor tunnel 1. Spawn asteroid, this is a pretty big one I think, so it's going to take a second to generate. There we go, generate it in. Paste that in, and again, pasting it in is very, very quick. And now we have this huge asteroid that you're probably familiar with and have seen before, but now it's got all these random materials generated in there, which is pretty damn cool. Pretty damn cool. Very happy with that. Uranium and all kinds of stuff in there, as you can see. Very cool, it's very nice. Now, let's say you've decided that was a gigantic mistake, I should not have done that. Oop, that's something else. Well, I don't want that asteroid there. Aim at it and do a Control X, and you've just deleted that. Now, Control V is still whatever you've previously copied. You cannot just paste the asteroid in again, you're going to have to regenerate it. But you can go ahead and just float about destroying the asteroids that you no longer want using Control X. It's pretty damn cool, actually. I'm very happy with this update. Let's do Shift F10 again. Let's go ahead and change our outer material to be this stone and that stone for interior. Have our randomness. Let's try to find a nice big asteroid here. So I'm going to look through these really quickly. There we go, junkyard race asteroid. We'll spawn that in. Took a bit of time there. Nice big asteroid. And if I was actually able to find the entrance, there it is. There's actually a little like course that sort of leads through this asteroid that you can sort of race through, and it's all pretty awesome. And again, because I had it set to have random materials, you're going to find silver and all sorts of cool stuff stuck in here. It's pretty damn cool. Now, let's say, of course, you wanted to set up your own little base. You can now, of course, using the blueprint system they recently added, you can go ahead and say, hey, we want a refinery platform. So I've just double-clicked on that, and now I'm using V to place it. So there we go. We got our refinery platform. And we, of course, also, what do we want? We want a respawn station. So double-clicked on that, now doing Control-V. And we got a respawn platform there, and a refinery platform. I think I was calling this a respawn platform at first. It's a refinery platform and a respawn platform. So that's just using the blueprints they added in the previous update. Very, very cool. And again, that's just F10 on its own. You press to get that up, and Shift F10 to get up the special spawning things. Now, the reason I've added these in is two reasons. First off, we're going to go ahead and stick in a turret or two. So let's go ahead and find the turrets. There we go. So we're going to go ahead and stick all three of these on our hotbar right down here. So we'll actually go to a no hotbar. Let's shift 3 to get a new hotbar at the bottom. And then I've stuck them in. And so we got our nice big turrets that we can stick to the sides. Our missile turret will stick on that side. And then we have our little baby normal turret there. And all three of these can now be controlled remotely or from the control panel. So of course you could go up to them and say, hey, howdy control panel, how you doing? I'd like to control this. You can see now, just like a remote control block, they have their own control thing. Now, unfortunately, that's not going to work. What you have to do is actually go through, or actually own it first, I believe. So let's go ahead and set this little turret, yes, owned by me. And now, of course, it's trying to shoot at everything else. So we're going to go ahead and tell it to have a radius of naught. That way it'll stop being a silly little bugger. And now we're going to go ahead and click control. And you can see for half a second there, we could actually see it. Now the reason that's not working, I believe, is because the antenna on this station, you have to actually be communicating through the antenna to these things. So I'm going to go ahead and select the respawn platform antenna. I'm going to set that to be owned by me. So there we go, it's owned by me. So now when I do this, I'm going to take control of it. And it won't kick me right away because my body, is communicating to the antenna we see over there, respawn platform, which is sending our signal up and into this turret. So basically you cannot control these unless you have an antenna on the station that's owned by you or at least shared with faction. So here we go, you can see now we're inside the turret. It's got this nice overlay. It actually seems a bit easier to see through this overlay than the normal camera overlay. It's pretty cool. It's got its own little circular thing here. It's all pretty awesome. It's pretty nice. And of course, we could do the same for the other turrets here. So if we go ahead and do turret, and let's select the Gatling turret. We can't control it, but I'm suspecting that's because it's not owned by us. So we do click own. Actually, it looks like it's probably, oh dearie, not letting us control it because we're still in control of this one. So let's do T to exit that. Once again, we'll select the respawn platform from the pull down at the very top because we can now access the antenna. And then we're going to select the larger turret, so TUR, Gatling turret, and now control it. And there we go, pretty cool. You can see this one unloads a lot. The muzzle flash too, I'd like to point out, is very small, it's nice, and it's not blinding you right away. It's very, very nice to have that actually. So let's go ahead and exit that one. And actually, really quickly, I'm just going to test. We're going to try to go back to the interior turret. And again, you can't control it. You have to actually exit the turret you are controlling before you can switch control to another turret. So once again, we're going to go ahead and use the missile turret now. And we're going to go ahead and set its radius down to zip before we... Oh, actually, it's saying control it now. Okay, so you don't actually have to have ownership of them. You just have to have a antenna you do have ownership of. A small bit of lag there for some reason when I fired that first missile, but it looks like it's fine now. And you can see there, you can fire a few missiles and then it pops up with that big reloading message there. So 3 missiles, 4 missiles, and then it reloads again. Sort of like the small ship auto reloader turret. So that's pretty cool. And again, just to be clear, you don't have to own the turret, you just have to own the antenna that's on the station. But, of course, you probably want to own the turret, and these buggers are still trying to fire at this refinery. Now, the reason I have the refiner here, and I'm actually going to go ahead and at this point save, and restart into survival mode. So here we are, right where we were, but we're back in survival now. And what we're going to go ahead and do is get our little tool out here, and we're going to start whacking away at this. And this one might seem like, why are you doing that, Sage? Well, the second this breaks, you should notice something different. Actually, if this does break, it's taking a bit of time. Let's see, it's at 15 out of total, so let's carry it on down all the way to its breaking point. Come on now. Breaky breaky. Got things to do. And in a second now, when this breaks, you should notice something a bit different than usual. So usually when a block breaks, it just vanishes. Now when a block breaks, you can see it turns to scrap metal. It's basically a new resource, so that when your ships are destroyed, you get something back. Now we can take this scrap metal, all 368 that we have there, and then fall through the floor like an imbecile, because I didn't build a solid platform. I left a little gap there. But we can take this, and you can't build anything with it right away. What you have to do is drop it into here, and it'll begin refining that scrap metal back into iron, ingots at least. And then of course the same can happen with a normal piece of machinery. So let's say I was to go ahead and drop my gun on the floor. If your gun is destroyed or whatnot, or any resources for that matter are destroyed, you usually get some scrap metal. Apparently the gun didn't have much to give us, but let's say if you were to destroy some components from, well, let's say this thing here. So let me grind this down a bit. There we go, I've ground it down a little bit, and we got a bunch of stuff here, so now I can show you, if we damage some of these materials, they do indeed turn into varying amounts of scrap metal. And of course, some of these were made from more advanced things, but all you get back is scrap metal. Little unfortunate. But hey, it's better than nothing, isn't it? And let's be honest, here, it's better than it used to be too, because you used to get nothing. And you can see if you damage scrap metal, it just turns into nothing, so be careful there. And this will of course also happen if you were to blast away at things with a turret, so we can go ahead and use, well actually we probably don't have any ammo, but just take my word for it, if you were to use a turret to blast these away, you would see them destroyed. And you'd see blocks being destroyed just like we did there, and you'd be getting some nice little bits of scrap metal. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and switch back over to creative now, because there's one last thing I forgot to show. And that would be the fact that if you do the Shift F10, go ahead and make yourself a big old asteroid. So, here we go, really quickly generating. You can actually put that asteroid partially through or completely around a station without having to worry about the station being destroyed. Now, the platform on the far right there I've actually turned into a ship. Also, by the way, you can merge it into the other one. Please note when you mine into that you're going to have some issues. I'll show you in a second. But let's say we paste this here and you see it cannot be placed over ships and players. But if it's just the asteroids, I can actually place it there without issue. Or just the asteroids, sorry. Just the stations. You can see it works fine, which is a little bit odd. But A, it means you can make some pretty cool stuff. If you were to build out a whole station and then go ahead and spawn your asteroids over it, you would basically have your nice little inner asteroid structures stuck in there. So you can basically do something like this, where you're like, okay, this is going to be my asteroid base, and I built the thing and then pasted the asteroid around it, which is pretty dang cool, I think. And of course I'm just left clicking. I should be right clicking to get my way through here. Yeah, there we go. So blast our way through here. It's pretty cool actually, the idea of this, and it makes for some really unique stuff. And it's sort of like I don't know, I don't even know what to call it almost. Some sort of weird exploration of its own right. I like it a lot. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, please note though, another thing is the fact that we did have those two asteroids going ahead and touching each other. They don't actually merge into one. As you can see here, if I'm mining through this, it's not going to naturally deform the other asteroid. You can actually see the other asteroid is still its own body. This one is just being pushed out of the way, and then you can see this other one just sort of drifting here inside it, and then you end up mining that one separately. The seam isn't that easy to see, but it could be a nuisance. And actually it looks like, yeah, it's very hard to see, like I said. It's actually, I think, right around here, yeah. It's really hard to see where one ends and the other one begins. But sometimes it's noticeable, so just be cautious if you're spawning in a field. You might not want it to be lining up like that too much, especially how this looks here, as you can very clearly see the seam where the two meet. Anyway, guys, that's it. That's this update. You can control turrets. I think that's pretty awesome. A lot of combat-loving people are going to be jumping all over that. I personally am just in love with the fact that we can spawn in big old fracking asteroids like this and then stick stations into them and all sorts of cool stuff. Yeah, I'm loving that. It's just really great. Really quickly, I'm going to do one last test, because why not? I'm going to see if we can actually place this inside an asteroid. Unfortunately, we cannot, so you'd have to build your station first and then place your buildings inside of it. No dice the other way around, and I believe that even works if we were to go ahead and fly inside this thing and try to place it in here. Yeah, no dice. So, anyway guys, that's it. Thanks so much for watching. I love this update. It has a lot of possibilities for custom maps and stuff, and just the fact that now, hey, I want to have my own asteroid field, I can set it up, and please note there are a bunch of small asteroids out there too, so if we were to go through here and find like, small asteroids too, and tell those to spawn, you can see you got groups of small asteroids. I think actually sometimes these vary a little bit. At least they did in the past. I don't know, maybe they don't now. Anyway, guys, that's it. For real, thanks so much for watching, and I shall definitely... Ooh, that's a nice grouping. See you next time.